Dalin was quite interesting in his press conference.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it.
No, I think you'd have to be in here to. I don't think it was streamed.
So what did he say?
No, just saying about the boat and how he wanted a boat that was first to Cape of Good Hope. That was always the main objective, and a boat for coming back up the Atlantic.
That's what he said in his interview as well at the end of the race. It was he basically just needs to
survive in the south, which is the opposite of Boris, and the opposite of, to a certain extent, of Yoann and Thomas.
Moi, je t'entends, je sais pas si toi tu m'entends par le micro d'ordre.
Allô?
Je te parle, Clara, dans le micro d'ordre. Est-ce que tu me reçois? Attends. Ouais, est-ce que tu me reçois, toi? Ok. Oui, Xavier, bonjour, Sarah. Est-ce que tu peux me parler un petit peu? Andy, can you speak a little bit?
Yeah, very good morning. Welcome to the cupboard in the live in Les Sables alone, where the English are working with no heating. We're fucking freezing. But never mind.
So cold as even.
Yesterday we were boiling hot, and today we're freezing. And for Sebastian Simon on Friday morning, it's going to be perfect. However, no problem. C'est bon?
Yes. Thank you, Andy.
Et aujourd'hui, Monsieur Leboeuf est... Un peu de l'interprétation dans le marinade. Mr. The Beef will be swimming today and rescued by Yoann Richomme in a spectacular... Don't know. Yeah, did you not get just put in not make breakfast?
No, I didn't get breakfast, didn't get dinner either.
No. Oh dear. Everything in my world is running. People say, oh, it's on the Google Doc. There we go. Very good morning. Welcome to Les Sables where it is clearly a light wind morning out on the water, watching the first images of the finish of Yoann Richomme and Paprec ARKÉA coming in second place in this 10th edition of the Vendée Globe. I'm joined this morning by Alan Roberts, co-skipper for Clarice Kramer, IMOCA co-skipper, IMOCA expert, Figaro racer, and indeed 2028 prospective Vendée Globe candidate. Alan, your thoughts on the arrival of Yoann Richomme coming in second place?
Yeah, it's a fantastic race. This is Yoann's first Vendée Globe, and he's battled the whole way. He's really had a duel with Charlie the whole way around the planet, which has been really fantastic to watch. Two quite different boats designed to optimise around different elements of the race course, and it's been great to see them dueling it out, battling out all the way right to the finish here. They've only finished 24 hours apart in the end.
Indeed,
Yoann still absolutely in race mode. He's only got a
little bit of
distance to the finish line.
He is, I say, sort of pretty light winds overnight. Very, very cold night. Still minus temperatures in the early hours of the morning. So he's going to be super happy to get across the finish line. There we see the lights of Les Sables. His iconic skyline welcomes the Vendée Globe skippers back after their solo non-stop round the world race. As Alan said, this is Yoann's first ever Vendée Globe. He's been in the IMOCA class for just over 2 years, a relative newcomer then to the IMOCA. And I think Charlie Dalin, in the end, just a little bit better. His experience in the south, I think, was key. His experience of being able to manage himself over the entire length of the course is perhaps one of the outstanding features that have contributed to his race win, Alan.
Again, what's really interesting to see here, like with Charlie's thing, the boat looks like it's immaculate condition. There's not much wrong, there's no paintwork coming off, there's no damage to the sails, everything looks brand new. It's really a testament to how these boats are prepared and how well they looked after sails as well.
So he's got less than half a mile, I think, to go here to the finish line. He's just coming in. We haven't yet seen the finish line on the videos.
Anyway, the good news for Yoann after this freezing cold night is he should be able to come straight into the channel, unlike the winner yesterday, Charlie Dalin, who had a fantastic arrival.
Really perfect conditions coming in at dawn. Beautiful sunshine, and then had time to decompress with his team. But Yoann, I think, will just want to get in, get finished, and enjoy his day. As you said, Alan, he's sailed a fantastic race. He's been battling out with Charlie all the time. He's led the race periodically, led at Cape Horn, and has been a really, really even match with Charlie. A rivalry which goes way back, as we said, to 2014-15 in the Figaro class, double winner of the Solitaire. 2016 and 2019 in different classes of boat actually in the Solitaire then.
It's not just the Figaros, he steps into the class 40s twice, and he's won both times the route to run, where he steps in different design boats. And again, a quite similar profile to Charlie. He's naval architect by training. He's studied at Southampton Solent University, and he's come through the ranks of the Tour de France level well. The Figaro, last 14 hours, the IMOCAs. He's really quite a complete sailor, and this just absolutely proves it. He's playing at his level, and he could have won this race. You know, it didn't take much, and one small mistake from Charlie, or vice versa, and it could have gone either way. They've been neck and neck the whole way around.
They have indeed, they have been in almost through their entire career. So Charlie has the advantage of being in the IMOCA class for a full quadrennial more. I think he knew what he was coming into, going into the Southern Ocean, for example. Although it was all new in some respects, or in every respect, to Yoann, I think he struggled at times with just the intensity of it. It was very much the measure of it, but we know that he didn't find it at all easy.
Both of these boats have been new boats, and like I mentioned before, they are different designs. Yoann's boat, this is a Fino Koch design hull. That Yoann participated quite a lot in the concepts. The idea of this boat is very much more around the Southern Ocean, whereas Charlie's boat is more designed around Atlantic racing. So we saw moments of extreme speed from Yoann in the Southern Ocean, where he was going 1.5 knots quicker than Charlie, and notably after the low pressure that he dived north to avoid, he managed to catch back up 500 miles to get back into Charlie and Seb Simon that had made a break for it, and that was a massive difference. That was huge.
He was the only skipper who managed to do that of that little group who stayed to the north to avoid, or in Yoann's case, he rerouted up to the north to avoid this big low pressure system. But he was the only skipper who could make that comeback, really racing at an intensity that was just extraordinary. And he pulled back, as Alan said, 500 miles or so to catch up with the two leaders at that point, Charlie and Sebastian Simon. So he's just, I think, staying focused, not showing too many emotions, just counting down the miles, the meters into the finish line.
It's always long when the boat's slow like this.
Like this, there's not much wind. There's not many waves.
It doesn't have to do very much.
Just got to make sure it doesn't miss the finish line, which is with the background lights is easier said than done. It's the same finish line we use for the Figaro races here in Les Sables and Dalin. It's all their races, all their offshore races finish at this cardinal mark that's just off the entrance to the harbour. So it's a familiar one to Yoann, again, having done 10 years of so Figaro racing. He's come into here enough times, and of course.
So he's only got a few hundred meters to the finish line, and say he's only focused on the that mark at the moment, as Alan said, the Nush Sud, the cardinal mark that marks the end of the Vendée Globe. Now he's getting a little bit more wound up. It's nearly done. There we go. We just see the
finish line there. And he's going to enjoy this moment, just this big moment of release. His first Vendee Globe, I think he will be quite content in the end with second place. He said he didn't mind being second if he was second to Charlie, who he's acknowledged was better round the course. But he sailed such a fantastic race as Yoann. He's contributed so much in terms of communication, his passion. And he's just waiting for these final meters. Here we go. This is Yoann. Loves a little bit of showmanship when he can do it, when he needs to, as we saw at the start, and with so many of his comms over the course of the race. This is the moment he's also dreamed of, same as Charlie. It's all about completing the circle, getting through the finish line. As Alan said, everything is absolutely intact. The boat's still at 100% as far as we know, just missing one head sail, which will have cost him a little bit in the final light winds. Just getting the signal or communications from the finish line, from the finished boat, confirming the arrival of Paprec ARKÉA. There we go, celebration time for Yoann Richomme as he takes second. A very close second in the end in the 10th edition of the Vendée Globe. He's been such a fantastic competitor all the way around the race course. And only in the final days did he miss out to Charlie Dalin.
What a brilliant race he's had. What a brilliant
adventure. He's really animated it for us on shore, you know, giving us his tutorials, which has been really cool to follow. And he's a very expressive sailor. You know, he definitely puts out a lot onto the social media. He shares a lot. He's very good with his communications. You know, that hasn't slowed him down at all on the race course. He's been giving it 100% the whole way around, which has been really cool to see. I'm sure he'll be happy to get back on shore now, to catch back up with his family.
I think he's found the solitude a little bit more testing than Charlie had said, who knew what he was going into. Struggled at moments over the course of the race. This is the time when he reconnects with his close friends or close family, and mainly his team, his team on board, have contributed so much in terms of preparation, in terms of support over the course of the race and all the build-up. Was certainly one of the top two favourites ranked going into this race.
Very impressive season this year as well in the early races, winning one of the transatlantics, really showing what he was capable of and the boat was capable of.
And also won the Retour de la Basse, the solo race back from the Caribbean to Lorient.
And won the outbound Transat CIC.
This is the handover period now. Pass the pilot over to shore crew. It's no longer his responsibility. 65 and a half days of focus. Relentlessness on the water now is relinquished.
So there we go, it's finish time for Yoann Richomme, Paprec Arkea finished at 07:12:02 French time, so 06:12:02 UTC. His elapsed time for the race is 65 days, 18 hours, 10 minutes and 2 seconds. He's 22
hours and 47 minutes in the end behind Charlie Dalin, and he sailed 23,000, well, for the theoretical course of 23,905 miles. He's at 15.15 knots, and he actually sailed 28,326 nautical miles at a speed of 17.95 knots. So I think Alan, sailed slightly less distance than Charlie from memory, but a fabulous performance from what, in the strict terms of the Vendée Globe, you call him a rookie, but as you said, Alan, he twice won the Route de Rome, and won the Route de Rome in class 40 really, really impressively. In the last time he raced the Route de Rome, he had to take a penalty, ended up miles behind the leaders, and just worked his way through the fleet and still won quite conclusively. And both times he won the Route de Rome, it was a late project, building a boat in the shortest period possible. But he's an immaculate technician, prepares his boats beautifully. And as you said, Alan, very much in the same mold as Charlie, a perfectionist, and very driven by data, by numbers. But it's interesting for all that, he's always said that the boat is just a tool. He has no sentimental attachment to his boats. He doesn't get involved in the mythology of races and things like that. And I think a little bit unlike Charlie, it was interesting during the race when he connected with some of the legendary skippers of ocean racing. Charlie was really, he knew the history, their history, knew the history of the race. And I think in that respect, Yoann just a little bit less sentimental. It was interesting yesterday where Charlie said he'd become almost spiritual in some senses, which was an evolution when he considered it as always very Cartesian, and there's a little bit of personal development. So anyway, there we go. Yoann Richomme, 65 days, 18 hours, 10 minutes and 2 seconds, taking a very, very good, well-earned, highly respected second place. Great runner-up in this magnificent edition of the Vendée Globe, the biggest race ever, the most international race ever. But a light wind, cold finish for him. Still a little bit before dawn here, Alan.
Not left it in too bad a state, but they'll be prepping the boat now to come in. They've got the flags put up on the forestay and whatnot, and quite a bit of work before they can go up into the channel. And then they'll position the boat like they did yesterday with Charlie, and there'll be a full flotilla that will come up the channel at the same time. It's really interesting, these first moments when you arrive aboard, the skipper changing from single-handed mode when he's been out there by himself to being overwhelmed, as you can see from these images, all the flashing lights in the water, really disorientating. And then you have get the contact with humans, and you want to share little elements of your race. I'm sure he'll be talking to the shore crew. People will be seeing stuff as they come on board and asking questions. Yeah, it's always interesting to know what's going through the mind of the skipper. What's he been thinking about in his last night at sea? What's he dreaming of now?
Knowing him, I think he'll be in a similar position in some respects to Charlie 4 years ago. He'll be thinking, okay, I've learned all these things. He'll have a huge list to debrief for this team, and he'll be looking forward to making plans for 2028, you would hope. And going forward from here, and hopefully in 2028 we see another battle of these titans.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure Yoann's mindset after the race now, and also in a month or two's time as he's absorbed the experience, and see whether he's enjoyed it. I know he found it challenging in the Southern Ocean. At the beginning of the Southern Ocean, you spend a long time, you spend a long period by yourself. It's a very different type of sailing to what he's done before, transatlantic racing. So seeing how he dealt with that solitude.
I think he found it harder, and we know that he spent more time engaged with the external world, shall we say, with friends and family, and the
kind of outside world. We know that he listens to lots of podcasts and caught up with some rugby matches and different things like that, whereas Charlie is so much more in his own bubble. He has his very, very fixed routines. Charlie saying yesterday he spent upwards of 7 hours at the navigation station or poring over the computer doing his routing, and more time than that sometimes. But he just is super methodical, and he really didn't have that much comms with the outside world. And I think you're slightly different in that respect.
It's interesting, so because the rules for the races, there's no outside assistance allowed in terms of performance, but they do have connections for sure. And as you say, Andy, they are free to listen to podcasts, listen to whatever they want on the internet, but also contact their friends and family, which is quite a big change compared to 2 or 3 Vendees ago. You know, the internet access is a lot easier today. All the boats have Starlink on board, so they have high-speed internet.
Well, that was the thing that Charlie was saying yesterday, with the speed of the Starlink that he has, just the much bigger and more detailed
grid files, many more grid files and satellite images. He said he worked much more on satellite images and instinct, working with these images. That was as much contributed to his routing at different points in the race. But he said the grid files were so much more accurate in certain places, and correspondingly, rather than spending a little bit less time, he spent much more time just poring over the potential routes and making sure that he was totally confident in his decisions.
That's a lot of balance for you spend time studying, you spend time also going out in circles,
Because at the end of the day, it's a theoretical prediction of what the wind will be at different places at different points in time. So it varies around the planet and for different models, and you can spend a lot of time going around in circles, getting lost in what you think the ideal route may be.
just looking at his body
Language, I think everything's caught up with him just a little bit, and it's been so intense all the way around the course, of course. And as you said, Alan, this re-entry into the real world, suddenly you're no longer solo. It takes a little bit of time to readjust. And I mean, he's known certainly for probably a week, maybe just over a week, that his chances of winning this race were limited. But it'll have been a tough.
Realization. I mean, the race is never over till it's over. But and all of that makes a difference for sure.
He said about a week or 10 days before the finish, he was saying if Charlie won the race, then it would be well deserved. But he was working on his routing all the way in, trying to look for any little option. But he's such a respected skipper as Yoann Richomme, all the way through the fleet. He's got a fabulous record.
Welcome for him there. There's plenty of boats in the water, spectators, sponsors, family, friends. I know I know all his university mates have come over from different countries to come and see him into this amazing adventure that he's done.
So a little while before the finish, he said second is definitely the bonus, and really proud with how he sailed. He sailed well. And he made one little mistake, one big mistake in the low pressure in the Indian Ocean. And he doesn't even regret that so much. But that was the key moment for him. And he said, I think he thinks he'd still make, given the information, given his experience at that point, he'd still make the same decision again. But he perhaps wishes that he'd stayed with Charlie. But that decision, Alan, at the time was based on being Indian.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that decision was based on multiple elements in there. And it was actually, when I saw that, I thought it was almost the opposite. It was the inverse of the characters that I expected. Yeah. Yoann's normally a more emotional sailor. He takes a bit more risk. Charlie's more conservative, and I wonder whether it was because it was his first Vendée Globe. You know, Charlie obviously was all in this to win. Yoann for sure wanted to win this race, but there's always an element of controlling the risk and wanting to get to the finish line as
là, on est tous en salle d'attente. Là.
It's a bit of a switch.
Yoann's first interview.
Bon, je le coupe.
Yoann, ouais. Raconte-nous ton émotion là quand tu coupes la ligne.
Bon, bah écoute, ouais, l'émotion d'avoir fini un tour du monde, quoi, incroyable, quoi. Je sais pas si un jour j'en avais vraiment rêvé, mais en tout cas on l'a fait et voilà, l'impression, mais comme le disaient les autres, d'être parti il y a 2 jours, quoi. On a tenu un rythme incroyable. Moi j'ai navigué comme à l'entraînement, comme sur les petites courses. J'ai pas fait autrement que ce que je sais faire globalement. Voilà, je suis tombé sur plus fort que moi, clairement. Charlie est juste imbattable et stratosphérique en IMOCA depuis plusieurs saisons. Et ça sera toujours compliqué d'aller le chercher, donc voilà. Ravi pour lui qu'il puisse avoir une petite revanche sur le passé, on va dire. Et pour moi, bah écoute, c'est la fierté d'avoir mené une équipe d'une page blanche il y a 3 ans à une 2e place sur le Vendée Globe, à titiller le premier, un record. Bon, moi je fais pas le record, mais bon, pas très loin. Incroyable, et voilà, donc énormément de fierté. De penser pour tous ceux qui nous ont aidés depuis ces années, même avant, tous les anciens sponsors, ceux qui m'ont permis d'être là.
Not just
ouais, juste,
in this project, but the whole way through his career, starting from his Figaro, everyone who's given him an opportunity, thanks them for their participation in this moment.
C'est vrai que c'est une aventure incroyable. Je pense qu'on s'y était vraiment bien préparé aussi, c'est ça cette fierté, c'est pas que la course, c'est tout ce qu'on a fait avant, quoi. Dans ma tête j'étais prêt, le bateau il est nickel.
It's been a beautiful adventure and he feels like he was prepared from this, from day one, you know, everything he's done has led up to this moment. The boat was in perfect condition and had very little problems at sea. He's very proud to have been there and been part of the scene.
De plaisir tout le temps, tant dans la découverte du monde, parce que c'était un tour de visu, et puis de la régate au contact avec Charlie.
So from his rookie lap, you know, it's evidently he takes a lot of pleasure. What was it like for him?
C'était même pas celle de casser, c'était celle de passer à travers mon Vendée Globe, tu vois, faire une mauvaise place, pas la vivre parce que je sais que je la vis quand même. Enfin, je vis bien les régates au travers des résultats notamment. Et l'autre, c'était de rien voir du Tour du Monde, de partir des sables et de revenir aux sables et de pas avoir vu un bout de terre, quoi. Et ça n'a pas été le cas, et c'est vrai que j'étais assez émerveillé. Je rêve de voyage, de découvrir ces îles-là avec beaucoup plus de temps et les moyens de justement les découvrir, de débarquer.
It's the elements,
moi,
the discovery of new things, new experiences, seeing
une aventure qui
the
commencera un jour, je sais pas
wildlife.
trop quand, après la régate, c'est celle d'avoir le plaisir d'aller naviguer autour du monde et de le découvrir de cette manière-là. Donc c'est vrai qu'à chaque fois que j'ai pu voir une terre, j'étais un peu comme un gosse. Et
Every time you see a new island, he was like a small kid. He poked his head out the window and he'd be looking to see what was new.
Difficile, il y a eu un rythme hyper soutenu.
Very honest, it wasn't an easy Vendée Globe. It was difficult,
mais le
very
rythme était
difficult
affreux,
moments,
la vie dans le
physically and
bateau
mentally on
était,
board.
affreuse. Mais c'est vrai qu'à partir de là,
And sometimes the boat was absolutely
de la
horrible.
fin
It's
de l'Indien, on a eu un tour du monde
hard
de rêve,
work.
quoi. Enfin, j'ai appris
In the
ma
Southern Ocean.
le bateau il était toujours lancé, on a enchaîné les schémas météo.
Another moment,
de
the
dingue, ça a
boat was
dégoûté les
really
autres, hein,
easy,
quand
the
on
weather
entend
lined
les
up for
interviews
them.
et tout. Et ça c'était beau, c'était génial. Voilà. J'avais eu peur, toi, quand on a descendu.
And when the
la
boat
côte
worked
nord,
well,
au début,
when
on avait
the
3 jours et demi de
when the
retard.
weather all lined up, it
Là,
was
je me
just
suis dit, oh, ça va être
beautiful.
long,
It
cette
was
histoire.
awesome.
Et tout. Puis après, ça s'est largement accéléré et c'était génial. Et ravi de montrer le potentiel de ces bateaux qui en ont largement sous le
And
pied
then once
encore.
rounding the horn, you know, thought it might have been a long trek back up to Les Sables, but in the end, the weather brought them in really quickly. And he's really happy to have shown the full potential of this boat. He
T'as impressionné tout le monde. Charlie le disait aussi hier, tu lui as mangé la tête dans la fin du Pacifique. Ça a été vraiment une découverte aussi de toi, de tes limites.
Bah pas tant que ça en fait. Enfin, je sais que je suis bisu. Je sais que je suis bisu du Vendée Globe, mais j'ai pas l'impression d'avoir découvert le Vendée Globe ni
I
de
don't
mettre
feel like this is
beaucoup
me
découvert.
discovering the Vendée Globe.
J'ai pris du plaisir sur l'eau et même dans la durée.
Really
Ce qui
enjoyed
m'a un
my
peu
time
étonné, c'est éventuellement ça,
during
la
this
seule chose que
project
j'ai
and
découvert.
at water,
Mais
and
le
that's,
reste,
to
voilà,
be honest,
c'était un
surprised
peu,
me.
d'une certaine manière, une sorte de récital personnel de mes années d'entraînement et de course. Ça fait 15 ans que je fais ça et c'est vrai que c'est ça qui est génial, c'est d'arriver à
15 years that Yoann's been racing, and this feels like a
j'ai pas gagné la régate, je
summary
sais pas si j'ai le droit de dire ça, mais d'une certaine manière d'arriver à le
everything that he's
reproduire régate
done.
après régate, c'est ça qui est difficile. Et on voit bien que ça tient à un fil, ça a tenu à un fil probablement pour Charlie. Et voilà, moi, je vais t'avouer un truc.
And it's a delicate balance, you know, to be able to be consistent in these in sailboat racing, in offshore racing is an incredibly hard thing, and you know, it plays at nothing. The difference between winning the race, finishing second, and not finishing at all, and, you know, coming close to fishing boats, cargo ships. Any of these moments could be race ending. And he says, you know, probably for Charlie it was the same, and that's what it felt like for him.
Just last question in English.
Yeah.
Tell us about your favorite water race.
Well, I'm relieved to
Now
have
let Yoann
finished.
speak
It was,
perfectly.
even though it was a short Vendée Globe, it was still a long race, 65 days, but I didn't see it go by. I feel like we left 2 days ago. The rhythm was incredible, and we had such a fight at the front. I mean, I don't know how you can now come to this race, expect to do a good result without even spending a few years on the Figaro circuit. It's such a high level now with the boats and with our level of training that it's an incredible race. I loved it. I saw so many things that I enjoyed the time I spent on the boat, and I'm impressed with the level of the boat that we had. I've barely done any work on it. It would be ready to go back if it needed to. And that's amazing. I mean, we started from a blank page 3 years ago, and we knew we had to catch up on the others. We caught up on quite a few people, just missed one.
So there we go, Yoann Richomme. caught up, are always playing catch up, came into the program behind some of the bigger teams. He said he caught up and just missed the one place, Alan.
Yeah, well, I think Yoann was on really good form there. I mean, like Charlie, he looked re-energised. He didn't look tired. It's very different images from what we're used to at the end of the Vendée Globe. I think we're seeing a different breed of sailor that's coming through at the top end of this race now. These
are really laying down the gauntlet for the future. I think both of them just saying this is the level, and that is really going to be quite dispiriting in some senses for the boats which are, you know, over 1,000 miles behind at the moment. And or indeed almost probably a week behind at the moment, looking at what they have to try and achieve if they want to come back to beat these two in the future.
They're certainly setting the bar high there. I have to remember both of these teams are big budget teams. We knew that they were challengers for this race at the offset. They're new boats, they're professional sailors, they're big teams, and you know, it's not the same for everyone across the board, but fundamentally, Yoann and the team have done a brilliant job on every decision from day one, and as he says, he's got no regrets.
That's the important thing, I think, particularly for him.
What a moment!
What a moment! And here he comes.
He's starting to enter the channel, and this time, unlike yesterday with Charlie Dalin, Yoann will come in all the way to the victory pontoon. Crowds were still coming out early in the morning.
People don't realise, but allowing a sailor to cut their teeth from the Figaro fleet, helping them get there, providing them with a bit of sponsorship, lays the foundations for this, not just for the Vendée Globe, but for a good result. So it's, you know, he was very good there, thanking everyone that's ever helped him, that's given him a hand up, that's given him a bit of knowledge, that supported him throughout the process.
He was selected, in essence, to this program. The program that's run jointly
between PAPREC, massive recycling company in France, headed by Jean-Luc Petithuguenin, a family firm initially, and ARKÉA, who are a French bank, who are big supporters of sailing in France. They run this sponsorship program together, and indeed they were both both worked together as ARKÉA PAPREC in the previous finishes. In the previous race they were together, so they as an organisation learned from that. But let's have a quick look at the race of Yoann Richomme, who really has been a contender all the way round, who's been a leader, he's been battling to the finish. And in the end, not quite getting there. Yoann Richomme's race led early in the race, led around Cape Horn. Set a 24-hour speed record at one point. It was a great moment of the race where Nico Lundven had just set the 24-hour solo record, and Yoann came back a few days later and smashed it, and that was the sequence. But
I saw between them sending each other videos about breaking each other's records. It's good to see the camaraderie between the skippers, and you know, we train together, we live together, we race together. It becomes so close, and the relationship becomes so close out on the water that, you know, it's good to share these moments and have fun with your comrades out there on the water.
So we're going to have a quick look at Yoann Richomme's race. 65 days of racing. A quick recap.
Him to a T. Following a strong gale off Cape Finisterre, the Atlantic descent was marred by unusually light trade winds. Richomme crossed the equator at night in 5th position. He expected tougher conditions. They came in the form of a low system off Brazil. He propelled his boat forward, endured the speed, impacts and fatigue to break the 24-hour distance record twice. I have a message for Nico Lulu. Sorry, mate. I feel really bad, but I pinched your world record. 551 miles. We'll settle things in the south. After this mind-blowing run, PAPREC ARKÉA's skipper rounded the Cape of Good Hope in the leading 4, 3 hours behind Charlie Dalin. The two of them switched places several times in the Indian Ocean. It's always good to be with Charlie Dalin. He's usually heading the right way, and we're heading for the ice zone. A big southern low ended up separating them. Yoann Richomme chose to avoid it by taking a northerly route. His rival charged into it successfully. With the ideal boat for heavy seas, PAPREC ARKÉA's skipper sped up, pushing her hard. I'm a bit closer to the leaders who are having to jibe. Thomas isn't far behind. That's got to slam hard. Highly determined, he closed the 300-mile gap. He rounded Lewin in 3rd position and caught up with Dalin as he entered the Pacific. Auckland Island. Awesome. Pure bliss. It's like I came here just for this. The race turned into a showdown with Charlie Dalin since Sébastien Simon lost a foil. With precise weather analysis and endurance, Richomme led the race in the Pacific until he rounded Cape Horn, slashing Armel Leclerc's record by 3 days. We rounded Cape Horn! In the lead! Oh, it's crazy. Quite the comeback. During the Atlantic ascent, he relinquished the lead to Dalin, whose boat is better suited to moderate winds. As the semi-permanent cold front passed, the skipper of PAPREC ARKÉA lost around 100 miles. The ranking's not looking good. It's tricky. We're not making progress, flat calm. It's a lottery. But the seasoned Figaro racer held fast. He caught the trade winds and then a low from America in the wake of the leader. He accelerated to finish just a few hours after Charlie Dalin and wrap up a performance of remarkable endurance and tenacity.
All these memories, all these images of Yoann Richomme's race come flooding back, but the key moments I think were coming out in the semi-permanent cold front off Rio. That was the point that Charlie got away, and I think then I think Yoann probably knew it would be difficult for him to win the race.
From Cape Horn up to Cabin 3 where they crossed the cold front, and it was Charlie's boat, who's maybe a bit better in the transitional zones, a bit easier to take off, and his positioning just meant that he was able to get the jump on Yoann, and once he was ahead, it was quite hard, because as you come into the trade winds in the northern hemisphere, you touch them first, you accelerate a bit more the bit further north you are, and that coupled with the fact that Yoann then had an issue with his J0 that lost him a couple of hours, made life hard for him, and it was all straight line into the finish pretty much. They went from Brazil all the way to the Brittany coast on one tack. There was no tactics really, no manoeuvres to do, which massively reduces your opportunities to attack, if you would.
But great to see how he animated the race. Just a quick reminder of how much he enjoyed it, how much energy he put into the communications. And he's going to really enjoy this passage down the line. I'm sure there's thousands of people out for him, even though
it's only 7:45, still a little bit of time before dawn. and it's going to be interesting to see the two reunited on the dock. I reckon that'll be a great moment. Charlie and Yoann. It's a great reminder of how close they were at times. They raced in the south. They could see each other sometimes.
Like Yoann said there, and we saw in the recap video, they were alongside each other, which is pretty incredible. 15,000-20,000 miles the other side of the planet, and they were within vision of each other.
That's right. I think that was one of the key moments. That was when Charlie.
There was a key moment when Charlie was making his repairs, and Yoann knew that he was slowed and was winding him up a little bit on WhatsApp and asking him what he was doing, and he was getting a wall of silence.
That's a bit of the difference between the two sailors. You know, Charlie is definitely very much reserved. He won't share
a little bit more introverted, and Yo-Yo's the more extroverted. And I think it's interesting because you always get that kind of crossover in that situation where Charlie wants to be a little bit more Yoann, and Yoann wants to be a little more Charlie. And that was quite insightful yesterday when Charlie was talking in his press conference. He was saying that he found himself dropping into sailing like Yoann does, and he really had to reset and go back to how he likes to sail, making more empirical decisions, I think, and staying on top of and control of things. And he actively reset, and after that he said he felt so much more comfortable in the way he was sailing. It was more efficient for him, and he sailed better, and that was, I think, in the South Atlantic. But there we go, starting to see dawn breaking over Les Sables d'Olonne with Yoann Richomme having just finished second in his very first Vendée Globe, referring to himself as a bisou, as a rookie. But it's certainly not a rookie performance. Only one skipper finishing ahead of him.
But he also said he didn't feel like, he felt like this was a race. It felt like it was a training
process. It felt natural. It felt easy to be out there. And I think he sounded like he surprised himself with how much pleasure he took from the race, both from the actual physical racing, but his ability to stick his head out and enjoy the nature around as well.
I think what's interesting there is I think that energized him as much as anything in these different points of the race. I think he really loved his passage of Cape Horn for the first time. They were both, I mean, it's kind of almost indicative of the level of luck they've shared together, is that they were both close in at Cape Horn.
They could really enjoy the Cape Horn experience. They were only a matter of miles apart.
Some people that go around the
And yeah, you can go around 2 or 3 times and never ever see it. Certainly Yoann on his first time was in close and really thrived off the experience. I think that energized him from the South Atlantic more than other skippers who they get round Cape Horn, and it's such an emotional moment. It's a big release, and then they struggle emotionally because there's still the whole Atlantic to go. Another month of sailing in many cases, and that's really tough. And I think Yoann in particular was really energized for that fight with Charlie. So just coming into the channel, this spectator fleet and the VIP boats, both say Arkea and Paprec, very significant companies with large numbers of guests and visitors here to welcome Yoann back. So again, a little bit in contrast to Charlie, Yoann does come from a sailing family. His biggest early sailing experience was doing a transatlantic race with his family. And even before that, he'd never really considered sailboat racing and certainly wasn't dreaming of the Vendée Globe until later on in his career, I think, unlike Charlie. And as you can tell with Yoann, it's very obvious that he grew up, or he had spent 3 or 4 years in the US in kind of middle school, I think. His father was worked in the motor industry and was posted or had a job in the US. So he was at school there. It's quite interesting that he started off initially in a kind of private school, a very expensive private school, and then he decided he didn't like it and moved to the public school system, which is a little bit more challenging for him, but obviously being French, but he really, as is indicative of his character, he really thrived on it, enjoyed the challenge and got fully involved. And that gives you a little insight into why he has such a great American English.
And then like Charlie, he also studied in Southampton.
Yeah. So they spent, both of them spending a lot of time studying naval architecture there, but also learning English, and I think that's also very telling of who they are. They're people who love to learn, love to develop, and they're very skilled sailors and people.
So Charlie said yesterday that he has certainly has the eyes set on the Transat Vabra this year, and then the route to run the solo race to Guadeloupe next year. They're on his horizon.
Hasn't won the route to Rome yet. It's going to be interesting to see what Yoann and the PAPREC ARKÉA program do.
Touching the main sail from Mars, the sail's been on for 65 days. And the knots are pulled tight. It's really interesting to see both of these guys to be working next to conditions with very little issues. It's more than just sailing and takes to get these boats around the world.
And again, I think in some sense it's almost more impressive with this program because they're relatively new to, or this is their first Vendée Globe together as a team. As Yoann said, starting with a blank sheet of paper 3 years ago, they're playing catch up, whereas in this environment, in this situation, then Charlie's team, the Mer Concept, with Francois Gabard, and then with the Charlie's first race, last edition, bringing all that accumulated experience, all the knowledge of what's, as you said, what's reliable, what works for the skipper, customizing the program to the skipper. That's all significant in performance and reliability. And so massive kudos then to Yoann's team, as you said, for getting the boat back at pretty much 100%.
Between the teams, massive, are a well-oiled machine. They've been together for 2, maybe more Vendée cycles. They know each other, they know their processes, everything's in place. So it's more of an iterative progression. Whereas for Yoann, they came in and they had to invent and they had to write all these processes, and they had to go out there and condense all their learning. And if you imagine that Charlie and the team had an 8-year run up to this, Yoann's only had a 3 or less than 3, 2.5 year run up to this. So it's you know, hat off to them, being able to identify the problems and get the boat together to get around the race. It's a bit of an issue.
That was what I was just saying before we went into the recap, was that the Arkea Paprec Arkea program is a standalone program which they actually recruited Yoann to the program. They highlighted him as the skipper they wanted. And I think in that respect we all watched Yoann's broadcasts all the way through the last edition, particularly his meteo strategy programs, which he did every week, and that really highlighted his skills as a meteo strategist. I think that contributed to his selection, obviously with his race record in the Figaro and the Class 40.
Well, actually, you know, Yoann, these sailors are linked. Yoann sailed the same team as Charlie, which was Massif. They're driven by Francois Gabar's concept. So he would have definitely picked up while he was in that outfit a lot of the techniques and processes that they had in place already. How bad it smells up there in the fore hatch. All the rubbish bin bags would have been thrown up into the forepeak.
So there is strict protocols. You have to have certain flags on your forestay before you come into the channel, before you park the boat. Have certain flags up before you come across the finish line, even when it's completely dark, and all these things are laid out. Talk to us a little bit about the road books that these guys work to, Alan. They have so many different road books that really detail and lay out the processes, the timelines.
Yeah, so the machine's hugely complex, so any manoeuvre on the boat requires, you know, a carefully thought out procedure, timings to carry out, not just for performance sake, but also to ensure you don't break anything. These, you know, they're very delicate structures. They're lightweight carbon fibre, honeycomb foam sandwiched boats. So one small mistake can end the race by breaking a pretty major element. So part of the training process will be working through the procedures, understanding, you know, what you have to do, and then trying to optimize that procedure so that you can do it as effectively as possible with as little risk as possible. So they'll spend a huge amount of time building these, you know, call sheets, if you would, and that will be for a maneuver, but also processes that they'll run throughout a day or throughout a week or throughout different phases in the Vendée Globe. That will be checks of the boat. We'll regularly be going from bow to stern, from the front of the boat to the back of the boat to check all the composites okay. We're regularly checking halyard locks, sails, mechanics, engineering, hydraulics. So they'll run all of these checks pretty regularly, because the problem is if you wait until you have an issue, it's probably too late. The guys are carrying spares on board, and they'll know their boats inside out, and they'll know how to repair them. But the best way to avoid having an issue is to ensure that you keep on top of it before you even get one. So regular checks throughout the boat and servicing. They have to know the whole boat inside out, the winches, every element, hydraulic systems. And that takes a huge amount of time, because if you change an element on the boat, you may have to change your whole process around the new part that you have on board. The other thing, of course, we have on these boats is a lot of load cells. They have a lot of numbers, a lot of data all the time, so they can control and understand the loads that they're running through the boat, through the rigging, in the foils, so that if they are overloading it, they know that they can back off. But again, you need to understand what the numbers mean. You need to have done the work with the architects. You need to have done testing, and really built up a database of knowledge to help you understand what you have.
The other thing is they have these, they build up a meteo road book, different potential meteo scenarios, the different sections of the race, which are based on historic data. If you see this, even down against the cloud patterns and the main systems.
Yeah, so they won't know what the weather's going to be like for them, but you'll work with a lot of statistics. They'll look over the last 10, 20 years of data, run lots of routings. They'll look at previous race courses to try and understand. And I mean, there's basic things that they can plot out and understand before they start, which is where all the islands are. You know, the known factors, and then how the tides and current streams run around the world. But all of this isn't learned overnight. It's built up throughout years, you know, and part of obviously what Yoann did in the last Vendée Globe wasn't just for him to share with the public. It was actually him living his Vendée Globe. That was him preparing, learning.
So basically what we're saying is that Yoann ran his Vendée Globe from home in the last edition and tried to live through the meteo situations and make his decisions as if he were racing.
Absolutely.
He was quite forthright in terms of what he thought of some of the other skippers' routing. But anyway, he looks pretty relaxed, trying not to get involved with the jobs that are going on round about him. And there's just starting to get into the channel and see the crowd, I think. So there's some people out to welcome him in. Cold morning as it said. We came into work in the very small hours of the morning. There's already people going out onto the channel to find their best vantage spot. Just after 8 o'clock here in Les Sables. Just started to see the first signs of dawn. Cut off to get into the channel on the ebbing tide. There we go, the iconic flares coming into the very entrance to the Les Sables channel. Again, one of these moments, just time to celebrate, time to re-enter into Les Sables where he left 65 days ago, with a record fleet of 39 other IMOCAs. And you can hear the cheers, the salutes for Yoann Richomme, runner-up in this Vendée Globe.
What a feeling, eh? There's something magic about this channel in Les Sables. It's over a kilometre long and it's lined the whole way down of people, and it's just the right width that you can engage with the crowd. You can hear them, they can hear you, and it's an incredible feeling. And Yoann will be pretty pleased here. He's completed a lap of the planet at Vendée Globe, coming in second place, which is a monumental achievement.
I would say many times before that no matter the time of day and night, there will always be a welcome, even if it's in the small hours of the morning. People travel from all over France, and indeed from other countries. An English couple who are down here just to do the finishes. Doesn't matter who's finishing, they'll be out on the channel sides to just share the return of these triumphant skippers
See behind there in the flats, the locals are they're all up in their flats, looking out. Oh, he looks very relaxed, Yoann. It's pretty incredible.
But again, it's one of these moments that you dream about the Vendée Globe, or you're aspiring to do the Vendée Globe. Inevitably, these moments run through your head, and now it is that time. He re-enters the channel, heads into the dock in Portelona. Step back onto land for the first time in 65 days.
It's really amazing to see so many people coming down to middle of the week, the early hours of the morning.
One of the things, I guess, or one of the things with Les Sables and Dalin, in particular for the locals, is a morning finish like this is great because they can do a finish and then go off to work at 9 o'clock or 10 in the morning, do their working day, and hopefully it's another finish later on in the day or during the night. That's the way it works for the locals. It is their race in so many different respects. Hundreds and hundreds of volunteers get involved with the race, perform so many essential tasks.
Down to doing all the security around the village and the different areas around the town which need to be marshalled. We have these hundreds, literally hundreds of volunteers who give their time over weeks pre-start. We had a 3-week pre-start period when the village was open.
Again, a period that he's in no rush.
This section through the channel takes as long as he wants it to take. I think as much as anything you want to give value to these lovely people who've come out to celebrate, to salute him as they come in, giving his time generously, as we saw Charlie doing yesterday.
There's definitely a massive connection that you feel with the sailors, so nice for Yoann to, like Charlie did yesterday, like you said, Andy, for him to share that back with them, and he's definitely engaging.
I think Friday, though, will be a big day for Les Sables d'Olonne. I think it will become a long weekend of celebrations. If Sebastian Simon comes in third place, he will be
Vendee, or sorry, the first Les Sables d'Olonne based and bred skipper to finish on the podium of the race. I've had skippers from the Vendee region finishing on the podium before, but this will be the first time that somebody's grown up with the Vendée Globe as the backdrop to their life so far. He will actually sail back across the waters that he sailed as Optimist as a 10, 11, 12-year-old on his IMOCA, taking third place, and that's going to be a big Friday and a big weekend in Les Sables d'Olonne. But today belongs to Yoann Richomme. So just coming, I think, starting to get past the Capitanerie, I think, on their left side. So this left side coast, or this left side of the channel, is La Chaume. And starting to see the real light, the real dawn coming through. So Les Sables d'Olonne greeting Yoann Richomme as he heads in towards Portolona and the Pontoon d'Honneur, and what will be an intense day for him, an enjoyable day for him. The media waiting for him, and same process as yesterday with Charlie. We'll do some interviews on the live stage for the public. This is why we see them all heading towards the race village as fast as they can to get the best possible spot to get a selfie. Indeed, we were just saying yesterday how that's become such a part of the walk from the boat to the stage. And why wouldn't you?
For the planet for Antarctica.
It's
64 days.
It's such an incredible thing to experience for the first time, to watch, to go on the water, and welcome back a skipper in the Vendée Globe. Because unlike any other sailing race, it's an absolutely incredible moment when you find this tiny little dot on the horizon that gets bigger and bigger, and you catch sight of and then lock eyes with the skipper for the first time, and they left Les Sables d'Olonne. They've sailed round the entire planet non-stop, and this is them coming back. It's really, it's one an iconic moment in sport. This, Alan, this technology advances with every edition, lots of different new iterations of sails and electronics technology, but it's still all about the human and human performance, isn't it?
It is, but a lot of that comes from the decisions that are made way beforehand. You know, it's as Yoann said, it's the training. It's you know, he had a good comment there. It's you can't imagine anyone doing this race that hasn't done at least a few years in Figaro. It's a huge amount of preparation for the human, but then also the technology. Their decisions that are made 3 years, 4 years in advance. And what is interesting to see is there are different options. You know, this is a different design boat with different philosophy, different sails, different you know, even down to the sailing cloak kit that the guys are using. There's plenty of options out there, and you've got to make your route and make your decisions. But what's important is having attention to the detail throughout the process. And we see both of these sailors are they've got a high attention to detail from day one. That day one started 20 years ago.
On est parti pour le ponton, on est parti. C'est parti.
Okay, so we're heading for the pontoon.
Past the captainry now. On the right of the screen, on the left of the boat.
You know, to be the harbour master and Les Sables alone, what a job.
Yeah, they're very passionate. They're passionate about it.
Absolutely.
Same guys have been here for the last 3-4 Vendée Globes, and they really love it. They love the cycle. They talk about the Vendée cycle, and it's amazing. Everyone who feels connected to this adventure, to this story, you know, it's more than just a race.
Absolutely, certainly for the townspeople of Les Sables d'Olonne. They support everyone. They are right into meeting and knowing the skippers in the build-up period. Obviously, they're local favourites and the skippers who have come to be based here. Like Calais, like Arnaud Boissy, who's been here most of his life, but he's from Arcachon originally. Benjamin Dutroux is a Vendee skipper from the Vendee who's adopted and lives in Les Sables d'Olonne, who's got a boatyard just down the coast. Denis van Veenberg, the Belgian skipper, is based here.
And a lot of races throughout the season are hosted here through for the Ranger classes, from the minis to the Figaro, the class 40s, and even IMOCA races outside the Vendée Globe. It's a big venue with a big capacity, and the town love it. It's I think it's a real testament to their love that you know, they're able to attract these big races, and one couldn't exist really. Les Sables d'Olonne is very much becoming part of the woodwork of offshore sailing. It's the home of the Vendée Globe. Yeah, what a beautiful morning. We've seen worse Vendée arrivals than this, otherwise.
Quick shot of the beautiful Long Beach out to the east of the entrance to the channel, which brings so many summer visitors here. And in the winter, every 4 years, it's all about the Vendée Globe, and brings in millions and millions of euros to the local economy. But here we go. We just have only a few hundred meters for Yoann Richomme before he gets into the Pontoon d'Honneur here in the heart of the Portolona. To see the race village, the lights of the race village. This big marina, the Portolino Marina. So Yoann, as we said, cut his teeth very much in the solitaire. This one design class of solo offshore racers, won it twice in different circumstances, different classes. Alan, didn't he? Won in the first year of the Figaro 3, when he was able to just impose himself, and he's just a level above the rest of the fleet on that occasion.
Yeah, I think he. So Yoann won the Figaro 2s, which was the previous designer boat, symmetrical spinnaker with a pole, and then the class changed to the Figaro 3. Yoann was pretty active or proactive, let's say, in the design of the Figaro 3. He was heavily involved in that as a class representative, representing the interests of the class. So being naval architect, that was pretty important for him. And then he had the opportunity to race under the colours, racing the OC Sports boat that was the first year in the Figaro 3, and yeah, he had taken a year in between that. He'd spent a year racing Class 40, so I think what he learned in the Class 40 was really applicable and almost gave him a head start to the rest of the fleet that had just moved from the Figaro 2 to the Figaro 3.
That was the year that all the big names came back to race, and so it was a hugely competitive edition. It's a very worthy winner in the end. Anyway, Yoann Richomme then coming into the Pontoon d'Honneur. On the right there you see the mural with all the caricatures of their Vendée Globe race winners over the 9 editions so far in 4 years' time. And Charlie Dalin's face will be up there as well. It was interesting to note yesterday he was saying in his press conference that he came in 4 years ago to the same hall, and there was a moment, even though he'd finished first, there was a moment when he just looked at the wall and realised that his face would not be going up, it would be that of Yannick Verstappen. In 4 years, as say, he will join the ranks of the winners of the Vendée Globe. And who knows, maybe in the future, Yoann Richomme will join the ranks of Vendée Globe winners. Certainly, on the evidence of his performance as a rookie, you'd have to think that's quite a possibility, Alan.
Oh, massively. I mean, Yoann showed he's competitive. We knew it already, and he's just absolutely solidified his position in the offshore racing world and shown everyone, it's not just in the Figaros and the Class 40s, it's multi-class. It's seriously impressive, and to master these boats is another level now of sailing. But you have to be so complete, so rounded, and resilient so much.
So the public here in the race village just getting their first sights of Yoann Richomme coming into the Pontoon d'Honneur.
Two boats alongside each other there.
Just passing each other coming into the dock.
Massif and ARKÉA PAPREC. This will be a pretty emotional moment for Yoann. He hasn't, unlike Charlie, we haven't seen his family yet on board, so I'm sure they'll be waiting on the pontoon for him.
He has a young family as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, wife and kids.
saying that he's just looking forward to seeing his girls and taking them to school and things like that.
Getting back into normality, into the routine of it.
Anyway, here is his welcome.
We're proud of you, Yoann, says the sign in the background.
I love that he's still in control of the boat.
Yeah.
He's telling the guys, okay, this is the perfect spot. You can stop here.
Giving the boat laps the distances.
He's been sitting in his hands metaphorically all the way in, trying to just relinquish control of the boat to his team. Runner-up in the Vendée Globe, Yoann Richomme. Big love from the crowds here.
He's enjoying this moment.
I love it. He's a little bit of a natural showman. Here we go, Monsieur Leboeuf, the president of the SAM Vendee, the president of the Vendee region, very much the figurehead of the race. A little bit of a show in himself as Monsieur Leboeuf, taking a little bit more care getting back onto the pontoon as yesterday.
A lot less time on the fender. Champagne moment for Yoann Richomme. A little bit for the boat.
Another little thing just as we're waiting for the interviews. It was interesting yesterday. Charlie Dalin, who again is Cartesian and empirical, he's driven by data. He was saying yesterday he'd become a little bit more spiritual, and it was interesting. Last race, he didn't offer over to Neptune. This time he was much more careful. He talked to his boat, he talked to Neptune, made his little offerings and made sure paid off for him. So meantime, Yoann reunited with his family.
Just tracing with the family there. Quick transition onto the land.
Again, I think a little bit of contrast there. He just wants to get onto land, get in amongst his nearest and dearest, the VIPs, the sponsors who have supported them. We'll come back and do the our media interviews in a few seconds. It's kids. Team. For the technical team. Team photo, I reckon. PAPREC ARKÉA, second overall, Yoann Richomme getting the champagne bath.
That's the real reason why he's wearing all his foul weather kit still.
I think it might be something to do with the sub-zero temperatures, but certainly that's a benefit for him. Side benefit, but it's interesting. Charlie kept his salopettes on all the way into the late afternoon. And there we go, Roman Menard then as project director.
Yeah.
Experience in IMOCA. And that's what counts in projects like this. Monsieur Leboeuf, then the president, waiting to address Yoann. So this another beautiful morning, very light winds, very cold. It's going to continue for this like a few days. Certainly I think we should get some good weather still on Friday for the arrival of Sébastien Simon.
Yoann taking the time, going around his team, saying hello and thanking everyone.
Just seeing Jan Elias with him there, his co-skipper, who's contributed a lot to the programme, I think. Been very much his right-hand man.
Yeah, Jan, a fantastic ocean racer, probably one of the best, arguably, 3-time solitaire de Figaro winner, Vendée Globe veteran. And, you know, I think one of probably the all-time greats in the offshore French single-handed sailing one. He's been a key part of Yoann's development for sure. I mean, Yoann, brilliant by himself, but Jan Elias, a very different type of sailor, feeling sailor, less driven by numbers, more driven by feel. And an interesting link between Yoann and Charlie is Jan also did a huge amount of sailing with Charlie. Jan actually invited Charlie on board his boat when he had a project taken out. Then sailing again with him on board Massif.
It's interesting that it's ended up through choice with Yoann. As you said, contributed a lot too, but I think keeping things simple and peeling things back to the basics and not disappearing down the rabbit holes of technology or overthinking, overcomplicating things. I think that's as much as anything a key part of his contribution.
Absolutely, Jan is very raw. He's very feeling based, and he'll have direct feedback and ideas, and a very exploratory sailor in a different way, which I think is very complimentary to Yoann, and that's probably why there's the moment Charlie reunited with Yoann.
Fantastic, isn't it?
They battled so long.
Respect, empathy between the two of them, the shared empathy. They've been through the same adventure.
You can give it a bounce there about their communication.
Fantastic, I absolutely love that because it encapsulates so much about the relationship. And the key thing there is that Charlie won. In the past it's been Yoann in key races like La Solitaire.
They'll have a lot to catch up over
over these years, Charlie never won the solitaire. He won twice. And this time, number one is Charlie Dalin, but Yoann, a super competitor. They're so far behind one decision. Went Charlie's way.
Brilliant.
I love the way that Yoann just followed his own little agenda here just now. Just to his own time. He's come on shore, he's met the nearest and dearest his supporters. And in due course he will speak with the media. Because there are certain measurement protocols that have to be, and safety checks that are completed by the scrutineers, Alan, for every boat that comes back across the finish line.
Yeah, there's certain elements of the boats that are fixed in place that you have to carry on board, and they want to check that you've still got everything on board that you had when you left. So it's part of the process. Everyone gets checked, and it's the same across the range of classes. So the sailors and the teams are very used to it. We work closely with the event organisers, the measurers, and the class to inform that everything's within conformity. I think now we'll probably get Yoann coming onto the dock, and we'll hopefully get a few more words out of him.
Ça a pivoté là, on va être trop... Ouais, je sais.
Race director, event sponsors, race direction team.
The money there on the right, we're the first-time race director, but has been involved with 2 or 3 editions before.
Also interesting to see Quentin Duguay on the deck there with Yoann as well. I know he's worked with him a lot on the weather. Another great figurist, part of the project. Just come back from winning the Sydney Hobart double-handed. It just goes to show that this isn't an individual effort. This built up of a team of so many experienced and brilliant people.
C'est toi qui commence. Ah ouais. D'habitude c'est Riquier. Mais bon. Bah non, t'as raison. On va faire sans lui.
Yoann, d'abord, qu'est-ce qui te passe dans la tête là, le passage de la ligne, le chenal et ici c'est arrivé en
Ouais, génial, non, trop bien. En plus, tout s'est enchaîné. J'ai souhaité justement arriver ce matin pour qu'on enchaîne les deux et vivre ce moment pleinement. Donc c'était trop cool. Petite dernière nuit en mer tout seul et arriver là avec tout le monde, c'était hyper chaleureux, c'était génial et voilà, bah écoute, la satisfaction d'avoir terminé un super bon projet et de l'avoir bien fini, hein. C'était une de mes craintes.
Feels extreme satisfaction
une belle copie, donc là
from having this beautiful,
peut pas être beaucoup plus satisfait.
Project.
L'autre il est à moitié imbattable là, donc c'est pas un regret.
Charlie's hard to beat.
Hyper heureux de la copie qu'on a rendue
but he's very
et tout, c'est trop bien, je suis trop content.
He's very happy and the welcome that he's had, I'm sure, is overwhelming.
Je lui ai dit, on s'était déjà appelé hier soir ou avant-hier soir, mais que je pensais que déjà il la méritait amplement. Je trouve que c'est une revanche sur le passé, même si le passé il a des règles et c'était justifié. Voilà, il avait quand même remporté sur l'eau le dernier Vendée Globe et là je pense que c'est
Charlie absolutely merits this victory. You know, it's a kind of a revenge or for the past, and he well deserves this win.
Je pense pas que j'avais bien tort. Hein. Ça s'est peut-être pas joué à grand chose, je ne saurais pas. Il faudra refaire le match un jour, mais en tout cas, je suis content pour lui et voilà.
Yeah, I'm very happy for Charlie. He thought he had a chance, but Charlie came out on top, and he feels very lucky to share these experiences, not just these ones, but the ones over the last 10 years together, training, racing against each other.
au début de la course de rater ton Vendée Globe.
Bah,
Franchement, là.
Ouais, c'était une de mes craintes, ça arrive. Hein. Bah, j'avais raté ma New York Vendée un peu, tu vois. C'était pas affreux non plus, mais j'étais pas satisfait de la copie que j'avais rendue. Et voilà, donc ça faisait partie des éléments. Et si tu veux, un Vendée Globe, il y a 10 000 façons de passer à côté. Hein, sur une pièce à 2
messing
euros,
up
or
not achieving as much as he wanted for this Vendée Globe. He felt like during the New York Vendée,
c'était du tout le cas. J'ai à peine bricolé sur le bateau.
he felt like he was off the pace. He felt like he wasn't quite on it, so he was pretty disappointed with that result. So
jouer mon jeu. Ça n'a pas toujours été facile. Hein. Il y a eu un rythme de dingue. Il y a eu des changements de classement là, dans le premier.
So he's happy, you know, with this race. It's been a hard rhythm. He feels like he was really able to tell his own race, play his own game. But it was incredibly tough and hard work.
Ouais, voilà. Enfin, c'était intense. Ça s'est joué. Pour moi, ça s'est joué dans la descente de l'Atlantique. C'était le dernier qui lâchait.
It's been an intense game, and especially going down across the Atlantic on the descent was all about who would back off last and who could keep pushing. And it's you know, a mental game about having an absolutely solid mental base, and that's not an easy one. Not easy to keep your head all the days.
C'était ton premier Vendée Globe.
He's very proud of what he's achieved.
Qu'est-ce qui t'a le plus impressionné d'ailleurs?
What's impressed you most with your first Vendée Globe?
Qu'est-ce qui m'a le plus impressionné je sais pas. En fait, je t'avoue, je crois que j'étais tellement prêt que j'ai pas l'impression d'avoir découvert grand-chose. C'est vrai que j'avais étudié.
He says he feels so ready. He almost feels like he hasn't discovered anything new.
En fait, là où je suis très très content, c'est d'avoir vécu des super beaux moments. Notamment quand j'ai
He's really happy that he was able to profit and have some good moments at sea, because he was really worried about not having that connection to the outside. So, you know, when he saw small islands and the lands around the world, that was a really key moment for him.
Je sais pas si quelqu'un est déjà passé plus proche du Cap Horn que moi sur un Vendée Globe, mais c'était juste
magnifique,
c'était incroyable. Et voilà, trop
Cape Horn was a magical moment for him. He comes right alongside.
Et voilà.
Yann Eliès, avant le départ, disait Yoann, plus c'est dur, plus il aime ça. Je suis sûr que le Vendée Globe.
Yann Ellis's comment before the start was, the harder it is, the more Yoann will love it.
Sur cette course-là, est-ce qu'il y a un Yoann qui avait envie d'émerger depuis longtemps, qui s'est réveillé sur cette course-là?
Bah, je sais pas, moi j'ai pas
l'impression. Part of you that's just woken up
ce que je disais à
from this race, or is it your normal Yoann?
Avec la même intensité. Franchement, j'avais pas d'autre intention de faire ce Vendée Globe, hein. Par la porte ou par la fenêtre, fallait que ça passe et ça allait passer en force. Hein. De toute façon, c'est forcément.
I've trained hard, I've worked hard, I've trained every day as I wanted to race. My objective has been this Vendée Globe.
Ouais, c'est vrai que j'aime bien quand c'est dur, donc ça.
Love it when it's hard, for sure.
Mais au final, c'était
sometimes it pays off.
Je pense qu'il y a 4 ans, ils ont.
But at the end of the day, I don't think it was particularly a hard Vendée Globe.
Et c'est la seule tempête que j'ai prise de tout le tour. Le reste,
the only time he took more than one reef was in the Indian Ocean.
Voilà, donc je me méfie des leçons qu'on peut en tirer, parce que je pense que c'était un Vendée Globe pour nous, le groupe de devant, en tout cas assez exceptionnel en termes de conditions météo.
At least for his group, the forward group, it was a relatively easy weather system.
Chaque petit nœud gagné te permet d'enchaîner.
But also it helps the boats go fast and the new boats are quick, so every knot that you go quicker is a knot quicker you can go to where you want to go, that makes life a bit more comfortable.
Et c'est aussi à lui qu'il faut le remercier un peu, parce qu'il a dû souffrir quelque peu.
He thanks the boat a lot, you know, the boat was absolutely brilliant, held together and provided him a good ride around the planet.
Bah, si tu veux, la fin du Vendée, vous de la Terre, ça vous paraissait proche. Moi en mer, je peux te dire qu'il était loin de moi. Donc ça parlait de duel tout le temps, j'étais là, ouais, sympa, mais
We talk about the duel a lot at shore, but actually for him at sea, it felt like Charlie was a long way ahead. So he kept trying to push hard to not back off because he never knew what was going to happen, but it definitely felt like it. Charlie was a long way away, and actually for him, the biggest duel was in the southern ocean.
Et probablement d'amélioration que je devrais apporter à mon fond de jeu, mais voilà, mais ouais, c'était un duel, ouais, enfin que.
He's looking forward to debriefing and understanding what he could have done better.
Pour remonter l'Atlantique plus que moi. Donc,
could have been better, but you know, fundamentally, Charlie did have a boat that was designed more around the Atlantic, and in a way, he wasn't surprised. Charlie had a boat more optimised for those conditions. Their design was more around the Southern Ocean.
Ouais, ça bouge pas trop d'ailleurs.
Hasn't got too bad sea legs. The land feels pretty solid, which is funny because he's actually standing on a pontoon.
Ça n'a rien d'évident. Beaucoup de nos concurrents avaient 4 ans d'avance au moins, hein, si ce n'est plus. C'est vrai qu'on tâtonnait, hein. Faudrait demander aux architectes les premières réunions qu'on a fait avec eux, mais je pense que j'étais un peu perdu. Ils nous ont quand même tout expliqué de A à Z comment il fallait faire. Et puis après, comme des grands, on a appris, on est allé s'entraîner. Je remercie le centre d'entraînement d'ailleurs pour la forêt pour tout le travail qu'ils ont fait.
He's learned a lot throughout the process. Started with a white page 3 years ago. Naval Architects' first meeting that he walked into, he definitely felt quite naive. He's worked a lot, he's trained a lot with the pole finish there.
Elle est super clean. Et ça me rend très fier, et ça me rend fier pour toute l'équipe.
Really happy and proud to have built this project and finished second overall in the Vendée Globe with a solid team and a fantastic boat.
Il était imbattable, mais quand même, vous le connaissez bien. Il remporte enfin, entre guillemets, un Vendée Globe 4 ans après avoir franchi en tête la ligne. Qu'est-ce que ça t'inspire justement, cette victoire qui était obsessionnelle?
C'est une victoire qui est statistiquement difficile à aller chercher, hein, parce que passer 2 fois la ligne d'arrivée d'un Vendée Globe en tête, je pense qu'il y a moyen de faire des abandons, des casses, des mauvaises décisions, de pondre un mauvais bateau, de quoi que ce soit. C'est beaucoup plus probable que d'aller passer 2e fois la ligne en tête, hein. Et c'est là où ils sont forts, et nous on a toujours eu l'équipe massive en admiration, en sorte de guide dans ce qu'on faisait, parce que quand eux ils font les choses, généralement ils les font bien, on le sait, ils font très peu d'erreurs, et voilà, et donc on les a suivis de près à partir du moment où on a pu voir leur bateau, où ils ont développé le bateau et tout ça. On avait
followed Charlie's philosophy and idea closely, you know, because they do things well, they have a solid program, and it's proved by the results that they've had with the boat. And very small amount of errors made by Charlie and the massive team, which is very exemplary, and he's going to have a bit of time to think about the whole process.
The runner-up of the Vendée Globe, Yoann Richomme. Very interesting, very insightful, very forthcoming. Now we will come up the pontoon to meet the public. Be saluted by the public in the race village. But in the end, Alan, quite fulsome in his praise for Charlie and his programme, as well he might be.
Public have made their way over from the channel.
In the end, I think acknowledging as much as anything that Charlie had the boat for the race. The more polyvalent, the more all-round boat. As he said yesterday, the objective, or Charlie's objective, was to be first at the Cape of Good Hope. survive, push as hard as possible in the Big South, and then
yeah, it's a
do
question
all he
of,
could in the climb back up the Atlantic, where his boat was also well optimized for.
it's a question of philosophies, but also it doesn't take much. It could have gone either way at any point in time. One small error, and the weather systems, you know, really benefited the front group, and actually in this race, contrary to the last one, they Globe, the further forward that you were. Again, Yoann here, great to see he's taking the time. He's got a hand. He hasn't shaken on his way up here.
Seconds. There we go, climbing up to the stage. Stephanie Bishop there, the operations director for the race. He's been done 5 or 6 editions of the race, very much the brains behind the operation. This is Yoann Richomme then meeting the public. Celebrates
Yoann Richomme, s'il vous plaît, du bruit pour lui! Bravo Yoann, félicitations. Je salue bien évidemment à tes côtés la présence de Patricia Brochard, coprésidente de Sodebo, partenaire majeur de ce Vendée Globe bien sûr, ainsi que monsieur Alain Leboeuf, le président du Vendée Globe et du conseil départemental de Vendée qui est là. On salue bien évidemment la ville des Sables d'Olonne, on salue aussi la région des Pays de la Loire qui sont nos partenaires sur cet événement. Je vois, monsieur Leboeuf, que vous êtes parti en mer ce matin pour accueillir comme il le mérite Yoann Richomme, mais je crois que vous aviez un petit mot encore pour lui, bien évidemment.
Oui, tout à fait. Merci de nous avoir offert encore ce matin de merveilleuses images. Yoann a eu eh bien, ce talent de dire je vais attendre un petit peu en mer pour pouvoir arriver ici et vous attendre. Vous avez été très très nombreux ce matin pour venir l'accueillir dans ce chenal. Eh bien, c'est encore un grand skipper, un grand marin, il nous l'a démontré.
Another big skipper, another great skipper in the history of the Vendée Globe, on this Vendée Globe.
Jusqu'au Cap Horn. On a ici celui qui
Right
a
at Cape
continué
Horn.
à se faire remarquer. On est très 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 fiers de lui. Bravo Yoann, merci pour ce spectacle
Super proud.
de faire depuis le 10 novembre. Merci Président. Yoann, quel plaisir de t'accueillir sur cette scène. Bravo, bravo, parce que, on le rappelle, tu es le premier bisu du Vendée Globe, hein, parce qu'on le rappelle, c'est
First rookie of the Vendée Globe.
sur ce Vendée Globe. On a l'impression de te voir sur le Vendée Globe depuis un petit moment déjà, parce que tu as animé la communauté lors de la dernière édition. Tu connais très bien ton sujet, tu l'as bien préparé, et ça a été une formidable course. On va en parler quelques instants si tu veux bien. On va revenir sur ces beaux moments que tu nous as fait vivre. Ce mano à mano haletant qu'on a vécu tout au long de ces 65 jours pour toi, 64 jours pour Charlie juste avant. C'est une course exceptionnelle. Qu'est-ce que tu as envie de nous dire de cette course? Qu'est-ce que tu retiendras de ce Vendée Globe 10e édition?
Bonjour à tous, désolé, je vous ai réveillé un peu tôt. Écoute, le sentiment d'être parti hier, d'ailleurs ils n'ont pas bougé, non, ils sont toujours là.
C'est les mêmes que le 10
C'est les mêmes.
Le 10 novembre, ils étaient là, ils sont restés.
Ouais, c'est dingue. Charlie le disait, et j'entendais celle dans une interview aussi dire c'est passé tellement vite. Alors, je suis un peu obligé de me forcer pour me souvenir. Je t'avoue qu'hier soir, j'ai rejoué la carto pour voir ce qu'on avait fait quand même. Et il y avait des détails qui m'avaient échappé. Donc voilà, on a vécu un super beau tour du monde.
And say what he was at sea last night, waiting to come in. He replays the video, the track of Vendée Globe, and actually remembering all the moments, remembering things that actually he had forgotten. Remembering the strong moments that he shared with Charlie throughout this Vendée Globe, but then also led on to him thinking about not just in this circuit, but also throughout different circuits, Figaro, and he's really giving credit to Charlie, saying that Charlie's an incredible, formidable competitor that's been very hard to beat throughout his career.
Des beaux souvenirs, forcément.
A very special relationship these two have together.
Le passage du Horn.
Et ouais. Après, le passage du Horn, c'est vrai que c'est un moment incroyable. En plus, j'ai eu la chance de le vivre.
Je suis really close.
Kilomètres, dans un temps calme.
He was able to, in great visibility, calm weathers. It was absolutely perfect. Things that, conditions that's very rarely seen by people as they go around.
Tellement, même, voilà, extrême de me dire que j'ai fait le tour du monde et j'ai passé le Cap Horn, quoi. C'est vraiment, c'est mythique.
It's quite extreme to say that he's done the lap of Dalin and come around Cape Horn. Hard to realise.
Ce tour du monde, je voulais absolument pas le faire sans rien voir. Et alors, je vais pas chercher à faire toutes les îles du chemin, mais ça sera pour plus tard. Ça sera
And of course, as he said earlier, a really important part of him was actually living the Vendée Globe outside of his boat, seeing things, the wildlife, the islands. He didn't go out of his way to see every island, but once he did get to see,
ce premier Cap Horn, parce que c'était la première fois que tu t'aventurais dans les mers du Sud, c'est quand même exceptionnel. On a l'impression que tu connais tout par cœur, mais c'est vrai que c'était la première fois là en compétition de vivre cela. C'est un moment exceptionnel.
Ouais, c'est exceptionnel. Ça. Alors c'est sûr que je pense que on a un peu eu la chance d'avoir des mers du Sud hyper gentil avec nous, puisqu'on a pris une tempête. Ouais. Je pense que tout le monde n'a pas été à la.
He was very lucky. I mean, this was Yoann's first time ever in the Southern Ocean. He feels very lucky because actually they only had one storm throughout the whole Southern Ocean. Part of that is also this generation of boats that go quickly, so the weather passes less over you and you choose where you want to go. So
cette course, comme tu le disais et comme Charlie l'a dit, effectivement, elle a été très rapide. Est-ce qu'il y a eu des moments quand même où ça t'a paru un peu long? Il y a eu des moments où tu as vu le temps passer un petit peu ou pas du tout?
Ouais, ça arrive. La descente de l'Atlantique Nord est quand même super lente, parce qu'on doit passer l'équateur avec quasiment 3 jours de retard. Là, je me suis dit, oh là là, ça va être long.
First part of the race descending to the equator was quite long. They had very light conditions.
Et puis après, ça s'est accéléré. La descente de l'Atlantique Sud.
And then obviously, as we know, it accelerated across the South Atlantic as they hopped aboard the low pressure system.
Mener les bateaux à 25 nœuds de moyenne pendant quasiment 10 jours.
Being able to drive the boats at 25 knot averages was a tough moment, both physically and mentally, the stress involved.
Il s'est transformé en gros avantage dans l'Indien. Alors moi j'en ai perdu une partie puis récupéré.
And that small advantage that they managed to generate from the Southern Atlantic Ocean transformed into a perfect Indian Ocean with a lot that allowed them to gain even more advantage. It really was a rich get richer.
Mon cerveau les a doucement effacés. Ça, c'est toujours bien, ça. Mais ça, c'est toujours le cas. Ouais, c'est vrai, on est tous pareils. On revient d'un événement qui est dur, clairement. Et t'as l'impression que c'était 2 jours et que c'était facile.
Yeah, very similar to Charlie. He says he'd come back from what was a really hard ordeal, but he feels like he's only spent 2 days, 2 nights at sea. So intense was the racing, so focused he was that the time's just flown by. What does the Vendée represent for you, Yoann?
Alors du coup, Charlie, c'est un peu pareil, je trouve. Alors il y en a d'autres qui ont fait un peu le dériveur et tout ça, mais c'est vrai qu'on est de cette génération, on est arrivé après nos études globalement à la grosse compétition. Et le Vendée Globe, pour moi, c'était un aboutissement parce que j'ai commencé par faire la solitaire du Figaro. Ça s'est bien passé au début.
Vendée Globe is very much a process, starting off with the solitaire du Figaro.
Et puis je me suis toujours dit, tant que je progresse et tant que ça se passe bien, je continue. Donc en fait, je voyais pas beaucoup plus loin que le bout de mon nez au départ, j'ai l'impression. Donc je faisais la solitaire.
And very much with a short-term vision, you know, as things were going well in the Figaro, he kept saying, well, I keep going, I keep progressing.
Et puis après, il m'a amené au Vendée Globe, semaine Damien Seguin. Et il ferait bien le Vendée Globe quand même aussi. Et puis du coup, voilà, ça a continué, ça a progressé. Bon, là, il me manque une place pour
He's kept progressing, kept learning, kept developing, and
ça sera peut-être pour plus tard.
Ça a correspondu à l'image.
And there was only one place missing from this Vendée Globe. But who knows? Maybe he'll catch it back up later. Another time.
Non, mais par contre, ce qu'on retient, c'est que Charlie Dalin, en tant que bisu, avait terminé deuxième en 2020. En tant que bisu, tu termines deuxième, donc la suite, on la connaît.
Charlie finished second in his first year, and then first in his second year.
Je pense que, très honnêtement, alors je l'ai dit en bas, je ne sais pas si les gens ont déjà entendu, mais statistiquement, pour lui, c'était quand même plus probable de ne pas réussir son pari que de le réussir, parce que...
As I said at the bottom of the pontoon, it was more likely, statistically, that Charlie probably wouldn't finish the Vendée Globe than he would to finish it and win it.
C'est vraiment exceptionnel et on l'a vu avec.
So it's really an exceptional achievement by Charlie and the team to show that level of consistency. Yannick Besteven, who won the last Vendée Globe, but had to stop due to damage. Now these Brest prototype boats, they're development class boats, and they're delicate.
Mais on ne sait pas trop quelle machine on a dessiné au final, et puis après on la découvre, et voilà, c'est vraiment pas facile d'en arriver là.
Toi aussi, hein, bien évidemment, tu sais ce que c'est que de fabriquer un bateau. La preuve avec ce bateau, comme tu le disais, ce sont des prototypes. Ce bateau, on en dit un petit mot parce que il t'a accompagné. Hein. Tu étais seul sur ce bateau, mais le bateau t'a accompagné et ça a été aussi un duo magique que tu as vécu.
Ouais, carrément, le bateau il est exceptionnel. Faut dire que on a été avec l'équipe accompagné par un duo d'architectes exceptionnels avec Antoine Coche et le groupe Fino.
Very grateful from the architects that helped to design and build the boat, Fino Conk and Anton Koch.
Et c'était quand même son premier bateau. C'est le premier bateau qu'il a dessiné vraiment, enfin signé.
It's the first boat that Anton Koch designed it.
Il a fait un boulot formidable.
And he's done a formidable design that's really worked well.
Qui t'accompagne avec quelques supporters qui sont venus d'ailleurs de chez PAPREC ARKÉA et qui sont là et qui t'ont soutenu et qui te soutiennent et qui ont relevé le défi de partir sur ce Vendée Globe 2024 avec toi.
Ouais, carrément, la chance d'avoir deux partenaires qui, il y a 3 ans, se retapent dans la main et se disent, allez, on repart page blanche.
Feels very grateful, very lucky to have had a sponsor that brought him in, gave him a blank page to take on this challenge, allowed him to build up a team.
Voilà, qui est au top, et je pense qu'on rend une copie technique incroyable. Le bateau n'a rien, genre j'entendais toujours à chaque fois.
He's incredibly impressed with the technical level of the boat, the work that the team have done. The boats, he's had very few issues throughout the Vendée Globe, bringing it back in almost perfect condition. He said earlier that the boat's ready to go again almost.
C'est de l'ordre de la bricole. Je pense qu'il y a pas plus d'une dizaine d'heures de bricolage sur tout le Vendée Globe, donc c'est vraiment une.
Did probably about 10 or so hours of boat work throughout the Vendée.
Un petit mot sur cette arrivée ici avec le chenal.
There we go. Great insights from Yoann Richomme with Olivia G. presenter here on the public stage and the big crowds there.
Le chenal, le lever de soleil, faire un kiff quoi. Faire tout ça, faire un gros kiff là. Donc,
just explaining the reason he held off coming in was that he could have the whole pleasure of crossing the finish line, coming into the channel, being on the dock in the morning. So he decided to spend another last night at sea and avoid the fishing boats.
Great programming, great timing. Time on distance coming into the finish line is something that is sometimes part and parcel of this of the Vendée Globe. Once again, he looks super fresh, you know, compared with Charlie yesterday, both saying they felt like they'd only been away for 48 hours.
Yeah, I think that's the focus in the race. You know, they're so involved and used to being engaged. They're not. And I think a lot of that comes from their Figaro racing, you know. It's so intense. What's he looking forward to? Can you shower? Shower at celebrating this incredible achievement.
Yoann Richomme. Premier bisu de ce Vendée Globe.
Don't you love it? Just fantastic.
Merci à toi. Yoann qui va maintenant bien évidemment continuer ses obligations médiatiques un petit peu. Vous le retrouverez bien sûr et on va faire la photo ensemble là, voilà avec les partenaires.
So there we go, Yoann Richomme's final public moments for in terms of commitments just now. He'll do a press conference in a while. Sorry, the key photograph just now for him, but this has been live coverage of Yoann Richomme's finish, taking second place in the Vendée Globe. This great rivalry that's gone on for since 2014, 2015. But that's the end of our broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be with you on Friday for the arrival of